On Monday before Election Day came this from former President Trump.
I'm going to be making a very big announcement on Tuesday, November 15th at Mar-a-Lago in Palm Beach, Florida.
Now let's cut to the chase. If Donald Trump announces that he's running again, the 2024 presidential election ends that day. It will guarantee a wipeout for the Republicans. Mr. Trump could defeat Joe Biden, but Mr. Biden will not be the Democratic nominee.
Oops, stepping on it's black. Anyway.
That means if Democrats nominate an identifiable moderate, such as West Virginia Senator Joe Manchin, independents and suburbanites will vote overwhelmingly again for Mr. Trump's opponent.
We have Joe Biden, who is the least popular president since Harry Truman, since presidential polling happened, and there wasn't a red wave. That is a searing indictment of the Republican Party.
Of all the issues in play for this midterm election, inflation, abortion, crime, the pandemic, schools, climate, Mr. Trump made his endorsement in the GOP primaries contingent on one thing, agreeing with him that the 2020 presidential election was stolen. Senate candidates who ran with it included Don Bolduc of New Hampshire, Blake Masters in Arizona, and Mehmet Oz in Pennsylvania. Republican gubernatorial candidates who supported Mr. Trump's version of 2020 included Pennsylvania's Doug Mastriano, Michigan's Tudor Dixon, Maryland's Dan Cox, Wisconsin's Tim Michels, Arizona's Kari Lake, and New York's Lee Zeldin.
Mr. Trump, are you still the kingmaker of this Republican Party? Will your candidates win?
I hope so. I really think it's been a brilliant campaign.
There's little doubt that embracing Mr. Trump's election view secured the nomination in those states. But in virtually every instance, these candidates de-emphasized both the 2020 election and Mr. Trump and ran more traditional issues-based campaigns. Why? Because in a general election, a Trump base-only campaign cannot win.
I can think of no one better suited, better prepared. Joe Biden.
Back in 2020, when it was clear the Democratic Party would lose if it nominated progressive Bernie Sanders, Jim Clyburn secured the nomination for Mr. Biden during their primaries. Today, Mr. Clyburn has already cut to the chase, telling CBS,
I just think that we have to plan for 2024 differently than what took place in 2022. Now, does that mean bringing in new people? Does that mean reassigning roles? I don't know. I just think that people ought to just be honest with their assessments.
Now compare the Republican presidential bench without Mr. Trump to the Democrats' bench. Some of Tuesday's biggest victory margins were produced by GOP governors. Florida's Ron DeSantis, Georgia's Brian Kemp, Texas's Greg Abbott, Ohio's Mike DeWine, and let us not forget Iowa's Kim Reynolds, an impressive first-term governor. Each of these Republican governors ran on policy successes that elevated their states' economies, schools, and indeed personal freedom. Abortion did not defeat them. Also on the Republican presidential bench with solid wins were Senators Tim Scott of South Carolina and Florida's Marco Rubio. But the list goes on. Nikki Haley, Mike Pompeo, Mike Pence, Glenn Youngkin, Doug Ducey.
You look at these candidates who stand for freedom, who stand for business, who do all of these candidates of action. That's where the momentum is. It's not coming from Donald Trump in the past. It's coming from the future.
In the meantime, the Democratic bench is thin to empty, with not one of the 2020 contenders looking like a winner.
Let's see, there it is. Trump at 71, Ron DeSanctimonious at 10%, Mike Pence at 7. Oh, Mike's doing better than I thought.
As to the Trump base itself, they have to decide now whether their concerns are about them or just about him. Since Mr. Trump made that comment 3 days ago, betting site electionbettingodds.com has Ron DeSantis' odds of securing the 2024 nomination up 38% and Mr. Trump's down about 37%. Tuesday was a reality check for anyone willing to see it.